Well, it certainly has been a very long time since I've done one of these. Well over a year, in fact. Welcome to another episode of Dominocast. The last time I had my brother on here, actually. He was visiting. That was last year. It is now early November. A little after midnight, actually. Going on 12:30 in the morning at the time of recording this. I hope everybody enjoyed their Halloween. I know it's several days after Halloween, but it's still a major holiday worth noting because I love it. I have Miah with me.
Sorry, I'm late. I had some recording issues to take care of, but it was figured out. Our SD card was messing up for those who are interested, which is none.
Yeah, we have never really had a problem with the recorder before in the past, so you better cooperate with me.
It is old. It's like a 2014 or 2015 recorder, and I purchased it used. So, but it was really cheap. Like, these things were top of the line, super expensive at the time.
Well, yeah.
They were like $700, and I got it for like $300 used. So it was a good deal. I didn't want to let it go. So, and we got a lot of good use out of it, I suppose. Not successful use, but good use.
Yes, we have. We've used it for a lot of things. It's been good to us. Anyway, another episode of Dominocast. A lot of things have been happening, quite honestly. Before I get to the main topics of this, I've had a long year of a lot of contemplation, to be honest. Mostly with myself. And I think a lot of people have in general in the last few years. I've seen other people contemplating a lot in their life, but especially for my personal goals and such. As all of you know, I am a published author, and aside from the books that I do have out in the world for everyone to read, I do have several others in progress. I've not been writing a whole lot lately. I just haven't been able to focus on it very much, and also not a whole lot in the mood to do that right now. I'm not stopping my writing, of course. I'm just kind of taking a break, I've noticed, and I've had a lot of thoughts about my other goals that I want to accomplish in my life, and I've been working on those this year. And now, being November, there's only so much time left in 1 year, but that is a problem that we all kind of do. We set goals for ourselves, and then we get obsessed with trying to accomplish them through 1 year. And maybe we shouldn't do that. Maybe we should just, accomplish our goals when we can and strive toward them.
It's very hard to digest the idea of accomplishing a goal and having accomplished a goal.
Yeah.
It's hard to recognize when you're doing good, and it's easy to recognize when you've done good. It's just an unfortunate side effect of not perfectionism, but wanting to do better, striving to do better and be creative. It's hard to consider the lilies of the field, as they say.
Yeah.
It's hard to see the forest through the trees.
I will admit that this year I have not. I've had many moments this year. Not lately. I'm feeling all right now, but throughout a lot this year, I had a lot of depressive thoughts or just anxiety over my personal goals, or not where my life is right now. I'm pretty happy with my life right now, but I guess I was worried about, and this is something I usually don't worry about. I was worrying about the age that I'm at now and wanting certain goals accomplished by a certain time, but that is a problem that I don't need. I don't need to do that to myself. I have to remember that I'm still young enough to enjoy things, and I still have plenty of time left, and I think part of that comes from the fact that I was born with a heart condition, and I've always had to consider so many things through my life, and there was that one point where they thought I would not live past 18, but I have. And I recently actually had my heart checked up on a lot of tests, and it's still fairly stable, thankfully. It's always good to have your health checked up on. Even if you don't have a condition, just go and have things looked at so you're sure.
It's a little expensive.
Of course it's expensive.
Yeah.
It's always going to be expensive. But
you kind of have to find a good plan and realize that it's for the greater good.
yes.
And you won't have to do it again for another 10 years or so, as long as you take care of yourself.
Yeah, that's another thing. Otherwise, you might be going back a little sooner.
It's like buying a car. It's an investment, and you got to take care of it for the next 10 to 15 years.
Been looking at a lot of cars this year. Not in the last few months, but there's surprisingly a lot of really nice cars that I really love that are out floating around now that are really affordable. Some that even like a few years ago I never would have thought I would have seen. And just people are getting ready to sell them, and that was another thing I kind of panicked with earlier in the year. A lot of cities and countries in the world are going to electric vehicles, and I kind of panicked in thinking that by the time I get the car that I want, and by the time I get to enjoy it, the whole world's going to go electric, and then I won't be able to enjoy it. But that's not true. You can own whatever vehicle you want. And I highly doubt the car companies or even the governments are going to convince everybody in the entire country to not drive their cars. We are passionate about our automobiles.
What'll really suck is if you're going to have to pay for it. Like, it'd be nice if the government actually is like, so we don't want cars that work on fossil fuels anymore. So we as the government are going to pull together, and we're going to make sure all of you transition. All of you are able to have cars. All of you are able to get your car converted or something. But they won't. They'll make you pay for it.
Well, I will not be converting my car, thank you very much.
We'll see.
They were saying that in California earlier in the year, like the governor or something, she was saying how you can still own your gasoline vehicles, but you will not be able to buy any new ones. And of course they're going to say whatever they want to say in order to get you on their side. But Who knows? Maybe she's true to her word. Who knows? But we also don't live in California, so not something I need to worry about.
Excluding California.
Who knows? Maybe we'll live there one day. But
I liked it. Just didn't like the traffic.
yeah. As long as I'm able to have my vehicle there and not have to worry about some ridiculous law, then I would be fine.
Nobody drives in San Francisco. There's too much traffic.
They say that about New York.
Yeah, that's where the joke comes from.
Although in New York's case, it's pretty much true. People do drive there, but they don't drive very far.
You've been staying busy with art, though, haven't you?
Yes. A few months ago, it was actually in early September I was thinking about it, and it was about the end of September I actually started doing it. I was remembering when I was in high school, when I first started to fall in love with certain artists and their work that I really enjoy up to this day. And when I was younger, and I always thought I would love to do art like them, because I love their work and they inspire me, and I have been able to actually do that now. Not only because over the years I've actually gotten better at making art, like even drawing. Like there was a time when I could not even draw anime boys. I couldn't draw people. I could only draw objects. Objects came easier to me. And then I just, out of the sheer desire of wanting to draw people or anime boys or characters in general, I just kept doing it. I still can't draw the characters out of my head, but I can draw characters that I can, if I see them, and then I can put them in a scene or something that I want them to be in. But I'm very pleased with the fact that I have been able to now create art that I've always wanted to. And I've created a lot.
In a very brief period of time.
I've always loved the art style of surrealism. Now, if you don't know what surrealism is, it was created way back at the early Art Deco days. In fact, early 1920s is when it really started to kick off. Surrealism is best described as the art of dreams. It really has dreams or nightmares. It's the art of the deep subconscious. And it was made famous by certain artists, a few that I really, truly enjoy. And I've always wanted to do surrealism. Ever since I discovered it in high school, and I had actually seen it before then, but I didn't know what it was, and a little bit. And when I was in my art classes in high school, I was really studying a lot of art because I've always been an art fanatic. And my mom loved art too, and she would introduce certain artists to me actually, and I'm thankful to her for that. My favorite artist in the entire world is Salvador Dali. And I know that a lot of people know about him. His most notable work is The Persistence of Memory. He's the one who created the look of the melting clocks and very surreal landscapes and surreal-looking figures, very wavy lines and very dreamlike settings. And his work is magnificent. It is some of my favorite in the entire world. You can get lost in his work. And that's the whole point of it. Like and the thing that he painted everything by hand, in his time. He didn't have digital technology that we have now. So that's what's even more impressive.
Surrealist art did have its detractors, too.
Oh yeah, not everyone liked it.
That's not art, it's just lines.
And scribbles, or I can't tell what it is. But Surrealism became real big during the time when everybody was trying to... they hated the fact that war was happening, and they wanted to escape from it to their own world. So they created their own worlds through art, and for everybody else to get lost in.
I do know the Nazis as well said that it was propaganda. They said surrealist art was propaganda. Because Hitler was a failed artist, so he hated any other artists getting a leg up in the world, so he wanted so much to destroy surrealist art. He felt that it was propaganda.
He wanted to destroy a lot of things, and he did not really succeed. For a short time, maybe, but in the long run... And that's what happens to somebody who is envious or jealous of the world in many ways, which he was. Another one of my favorite artists is Kay Sage. She was also a surrealist artist. My favorite work of hers is one that's called I Saw Two Cities. It's absolutely magnificent. I first saw it in a book on artwork when I was in high school, and I remember looking at it and it just stopped me for a few minutes. Like, I'd never seen anything like it. And it was right around the time when I was starting to really like Dali's work, too. One of my favorites of his is The Burning Giraffe. The Burning Giraffe in his work was an omen of a warning of war. And he would put it in many of his paintings to warn people that this is, pretty much what's going to happen if we don't stop going to war with each other. I actually did two artworks in dedication to them. My artwork, known as A Man of Interest, is actually a portrait of Salvador Dali in surrealist style. And my artwork, known as The Artist, is a portrait of Kay Sage. The reason that she has a mirror over her face in the artwork is because she met a very fateful end of suicide, and it's really unfortunate. And the mirror in my artwork over her face reflects how it reflects the thought of self-reflection and how she always was very self-reflecting on herself. But both of these artists have heavily inspired me to make my own surrealism. And I first started doing art with the little art pad that you let me use. What was it called again?
I think that it's a, I'm not sure of the brand name, but it's just a digital art pad. It's a, you hook it up to your computer via USB. It has a little stylus, and it, you can draw into Photoshop or whatever you prefer drawing. So that you could even do MS Paint if you wanted to. But it works like a mouse, basically.
Yes.
A gigantic mouse trackpad, and you can draw on it. It's very good. I guess I could get up and try to find it. Give me a second.
This art pad that Miah was letting me use, it technically belongs to him, but he lets me use it if I want to. It was a little hard to get used to at first, but I managed to create my very first surrealism artwork, which was titled Alien Trees in the End of September. I literally created it on the last day of September, hence the name of the title. And it was a surreal landscape featuring alien-looking trees, and I created it all with the pad and also with Photoshop. I'm very pleased, by the way, that Miah has helped me look into some certain techniques that I have heavily utilized through the month of October with all of my artwork in Photoshop, and I also used MS Paint for some effects too. I use several different programs for my art. I will tell you that all of my paintings I do not do by hand, I do them digitally. with the help of a few AI generators and also Photoshop and MS Paint. Now, I use all of these things together because I noticed that, and that is the thing about AI art generators, that some people say that the people that make art with them, it's not real art. I understand what they mean by that, but also I believe that they're wrong because it still belongs to that person that they generated it. What I do with them is I have to use several different colored shapes or collages of images that I have to morph and change their shapes and put together and everything. So I'm technically still creating the art myself. The AI generator doesn't do very much. I will tell you that having used them, they don't do a whole lot. And if you were to just put a few things on there, and if you don't like help it along and like put in context of what you're thinking of in your mind, because you have to type out like a certain sentences or words, and if you don't have anything in your mind of what you're creating, it's not going to work. It's just going to create a mess of images. And that I use that as the building blocks for my art. And then after that, I go and I morph it even more, and I fine-tune it, and I add things to it with Photoshop and MS Paint if I need to, or...
I've seen you add swirlings and all sorts of different etchings and sides, and like it's a lot like you get a canvas where you just throw blobs on it, but then it's up to you to try to shape it.
Yes.
So that makes sense.
And when I'm first starting creating, I do have a general idea of what I'm seeing in my mind, and I use a lot of my surrealism artwork. I think about dreams and nightmares and other things that I've had, just deep subconscious of my mind, where surrealism is born. I also have been creating Cubism. Cubism was born also in the Art Deco period, and that is when you take a series of kind of block-like images, cube-shaped images, and you make a bigger scene out of it. There are like millions of tiny little blocks and lines. Pablo Picasso is the one.
Minecraft?
I suppose you could with Minecraft. Picasso was the one who made that popular. He was a cubist, as they say. And he is another artist that I enjoy.
He was the original Minecraft Larry, or
there you
whatever
go.
Your character
he
is
was the original Minecrafter. There you go. In this episode, I am not going to be having a music break for the first time ever.
You've never had one without music?
I don't think I've ever had an episode without music, and it's just because I want to leave it to just the topics at hand, and also I did not really I didn't give myself time to think of what song I wanted to feature in today's episode, so...
I dare say the last episode with your brother didn't have
It did.
It did?
It did, in fact.
Huh. Well, I don't listen to your show, so...
Well, now that I know. I thought you did.
Of course I do.
Yes, Miah supports me on my creative projects, just as I do for him. In this episode, I'm actually going to be showing Miah some of my artwork that he has not seen. Now, he has seen several of them, but he has not seen all of them. Considering the fact that I have created 618 artworks. And by the time of this recording, by the time it actually goes out for people to listen to, I may have created more by the time you are listening. Just because I've been feeling very good about creating art lately, it's really lifted my mood. It's made me feel so much better. I'm not constantly worrying about my goals and stuff all the time, and I think that was a problem. I was in a kind of a writing block, but I mean, I was writing this year, little bits at a time, but I wasn't having long, extensive writing times. and I had too much time thinking about my goals, and even Miah had sat with me a few nights and told me, I think you need to take a break. You are trying to push your creativity too hard, and it's something that I don't like to do, and he was right. And I'm always glad that Miah's here, because if I was by myself, I probably still would be feeling down and still behind what I want to do. I think I needed to take a break and do a different kind of creating for a little while, something I've always wanted to do, and I'm able to do it now. And I might be doing it for a little while until I feel like writing again. I know I will. But I very much thank Miah for showing me tips in Photoshop to help me along with this. And
The pad was called XP Pen, by the way.
oh, okay. Well, now everybody knows what it's called.
You can buy them in different sizes. I think we have like the 18-inch one. It's pretty big.
Mm-hmm. It's one of the other things I utilize to create art with. That's always been a way for me. When I make art, no matter what kind of form it is, whether it be drawing or writing or digital painting, I utilize many different outlets because I don't like to be limited. I go with what I'm familiar with, but if I want to learn something new, I will put my mind to it. So, Miah, would you like to see some of my artwork that you have not seen?
Okay, so the premise of this is what? That I'm going to be looking at them and I have to interpret them? Or will you be telling me what they are about?
Okay, I'm going to put the art on my screen, and I'm going to allow you to just take it in and you tell me what you think.
I think that's a sexy crocodile, man.
Okay, he's looking at my background right now where I have the Egyptian god Sobek is currently there. Although I have a shifting background, I have many boys that just appear on my background as a scroll, a sliding scroll of different images from a folder. Right now Sobek is there, and that's what he's looking at, because I have not put up the art yet. But, okay, as I was saying, Miah, I'm going to put an image of one of my arts on the screen, and you're going to tell me what you think of it.
Okay.
I won't tell you the name of it just yet, because all of my artworks do have a name, but I will tell you that after you've done looking at it for a while, and then I'll tell you what it means. And the thing about surrealism art is that it can mean whatever you want it to mean. It's always for the viewer to take in, and I can give it a name all I want to, and I can talk about how I created it and what inspired me to create it, but it also is important to what the viewer sees in it too, how it makes them feel. Here's your first one. Now, tell me, what do you see? How does it make you feel?
First, right off the bat, because I'm a human being and we automatically gravitate to circles because we automatically see them as eyes.
Mm-hmm.
That's what human beings do. I'm going to say that that's a little alien creature. But I noticed that there are musical notes in the background. They look like musical notes to me off the bat.
That's interesting.
And for some reason, I don't know, it gives me the idea that we're introducing alien life to music. What would aliens think of our music? What would they see it as, like, would aliens have music? Would aliens be, because, like, Donald Trump, he doesn't understand music. Like, that was in an interview. He doesn't get music. It doesn't make sense to him.
One of the few times you will hear his name mentioned on my
but that's
channel, by the way.
I remember people saying, that's it, he's an alien. He has to be an alien. But no, he's just an out-of-touch old man.
I believe that aliens could easily make their own music. I think music is a natural force of creativity. It's a lot like writing and storytelling. It's one of the few earliest known forms of entertainment.
Well, we think of the Cantina Band and everything like that. Aliens have music, but I don't know. That's something a lot of people don't really consider. I mean, hell, there was a movie, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where they literally communicate through music.
Yeah.
But
that's only because they were trying to relate with us.
I don't know. Looking at this picture, it looks like an alien life form learning about music. But what are the blood puddles? What are the blood puddles under the music? Does he take music as a threat? This is
why I love surrealism art, because I like to know what people think of my art when they look at it. I've had my mom do this when I put them all up on my personal Facebook so she can see them. And she tells me over the phone.
And he's rearing back. He's like, no, music, my one weakness. And he has blood on his face, too, splattered.
Would you like to know the name of this one?
Me. What is the name of this one?
The name of this artwork is known as The Questionable Key.
He's a little key.
Yes, this is a take on the personification of a little skeleton key. Now, he is in the foreground. It's interesting what you said about the background. When I first created this, they weren't music notes, but they can be music notes if that's what you see. You are a musician, so it makes sense that that's what you see. He is a questionable key because of his personification, and we don't really know his true intentions. So did he create that problem in the background, and is he running away from it, or is he wincing from it? Because you can see he's got kind of like blood on his face.
Don't know.
Now, this is actually one of a continuation of artwork. Some of my arts will have like one or two that will continue from a scene that was in one of them. A lot of them are just one scene and just by themselves. What do you think of this one?
Jeez, this is
the continuation of the last one.
From what you told me that it's supposed to be about, it looks like as though maybe he's reaping what he has sown. Maybe he's paying the consequences for whatever he's unlocked into the world. It doesn't look like he's having a good time. But
you would be correct on that. But I just want to know how it makes you feel and what you see in it first before I explain what inspired me to do it.
I don't know. The first thing that came to my mind was now all of a sudden there's suffering. Now all of a sudden there is I don't know. It's I don't want to just say I don't know. It's difficult to interpret.
Mm-hmm.
But immediately it does seem like this is an ultimate ending that had to happen, but it's not a good ending for him, it seems.
This work is titled Grave of the Questionable Key. You are now looking at the entity of the questionable key and his death. This is his grave. This is where he has died and what is left over of him. And the intentions of things going on in the background. So it is a very interesting observation that it seems like that there had been suffering or regret or such feelings.
So I wasn't too far off.
It was the end of his personification, because all things that are living do come to an end. Or take a next stage.
Even keys.
One thing about surrealism art, is particularly in my style, I love to give personification to objects. I also love to include animals occasionally. I love to do surreal landscapes, which in many of my artworks you see a lot of landscape in the background. I like to give a sense of unusual or surreal locations, places that it could exist in another world or another dimension, another planet, or just completely within my mind or yours. All right, moving on to the next one.
Jeez.
Quite complex, isn't it? I remember my mum liked this one of the many that she liked.
I'm going to be way off on this one. But
it's whatever you see. You don't have to be right with my first envision.
For some reason, this stirs up feelings of the worker. It stirs up feelings of a gigantic beehive encapsulating the queen bee that you have to take care of as a worker.
That's interesting.
Balance yourself atop of it all, about to fall off at any moment and kill yourself. They're safe inside of their little honeycomb. And the person on the top is slaving away, working their ass off as the worker bee. And I don't know. I think that's kind of what I feel. I feel that there are entities inside of this picture.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, peril seems to be the feeling. There's one thing that I learned all my years of working retail and hospitality is that no matter what, and this is a lesson to young people or anybody with a young person who's going out into the world about to work. You need to teach them that work never ends. No matter how hard you work, no matter how much work you do in your time allotted, by the time you leave, there will be more work for the person after you to do. Mm-hmm. So don't push yourself so damn hard. Don't push yourself so hard to be perfect and to get every little thing possible done, because you're not going to, because the second you walk out the door, there's more work to be done for the person after you. And in a way, this broken down beehive, it represents a constant falling apart store, a constant falling apart business, a constant falling apart place where you are selling your time to.
Can I just say that you have very amazingly interpreted this. This art piece is known as The Machine. In a way, a beehive is a lot like a machine, something you have to keep going, something you have to constantly maintain. When I first envisioned this, somebody who is operating a very large machine that they have to constantly, use and maintain and work toward, and it is very much right along with what I first envisioned. I did not envision a beehive at first, but that's a very interesting interpretation. And I really like that a lot. Definitely people listen to Miah's words, because you don't need to be perfect to actually quote my favorite artist, Salvador. Do not try to be perfect. Do not try to strive for perfection, because you'll never reach it.
Also, just from experience, I would like to point out, don't let on that you are a perfectionist, and don't let on that you want to do the best you possibly can, because people will take advantage of you until you are broken down and until you are miserable and have a nervous breakdown and have to leave work for a year and a half. So
Sometimes some of my art pieces don't feature a particular object. Sometimes they are very surreal and with a landscape or with a setting, a certain mood even.
So it's very interesting that I should feel this. Maybe it was just because we were just talking about it. This gives off a feeling of unaccomplishment.
Oh, that's interesting.
The figure in the right corner here, to me, looks like somebody standing on the let me think, facing the, oh shoot, sun sets in the west, right? Just set
Yes.
okay, sun sets in the west.
Yeah, it rises in the east.
He's facing the west. He's standing there, his shoulders drooped and his hands in his pockets. And he's just watching the sun go down, and he feels like he didn't accomplish anything today. And yet he lives in a world of art.
Mm-hmm.
He lives in a beautiful, watery landscape that's just getting dark for a few hours. And hopefully, when the sun comes back up, he'll be okay, and he'll realize that even though it looks dark and shadowy and scary, when the sun comes back up, it'll be his beautiful landscape again, and he can try his best again. If you want to look on the bright side of it.
A lot of people, when they're wrapped up in their mind, they don't realize the world of art that they live in. This art piece is known as Arcanum Solis, which is Latin for mystery sun or mystery sunlight. I did not give it any direct meaning when I was creating it, so it was very much left up to interpretation, which some of my art will be like that. Sometimes when I create, I just create what first comes to my mind and I make something, and then I see how it ends up in the end. This was one of those that I just started creating until it was done, and I wanted to see how it would look in the end when I was finished.
So, no matter what, when you're talking about a picture with two faces, you automatically turn to the dichotomy. You turn to your two sides, the two sides of a personality, evil and good, no matter what. And all we do throughout life is straddle that little line.
Yeah, everybody's always been obsessed with good versus evil.
And the fact that it dwells within all of us. And it just matters on what we are willing to do that day.
Some people look
by.
at it very black and white. Some people look at it in grays.
I would like to look at this differently. I would like to take the time to say that neither one of these people are bad or good. They are one and the same. One may be a monster, one may be the innocent one. Who knows, but they're both the same person. Nobody is born evil. Nobody dies a saint. Except for saints. Well, actually, no. Even you can't even become a saint while you're alive. So, but
so they say.
This one's a little difficult. I think in the end, it's okay. I'm not going to go too far into it because we live inside of a very polarizing time where evil is evil and good is good. Damn it. And if you think any better, you're canceled. If you think any better of a bad person, you're canceled.
But shouldn't everything be interpreted and have a second thought?
No. Evil.
Uh-huh.
Evil. They're both scared. One may be a dark evil entity, the other may be the innocent little one, but if there's something that you're supposed to go away from watching true stories of criminals, I mean, here's the thing. Right now we live in a time where the biggest show in the world is the movie based on Jeffrey Dahmer's life. Or the show.
Yeah, thing.
It's a Netflix series.
Which is repelling a lot of people. Like, they respect the artistry of it, but the whole situation is revolting to them.
Yeah, but the thing is, Jeffrey Dahmer wasn't born evil.
No, nobody is.
He was a spoiled drunkard who took advantage of people because he's mentally ill. And I don't know. Again, we live in a time where evil bad. And to me, the scared and terrified faces, they're both one and the same. It's the classic case of like the evil twin with the good twin. Like, they're both the same damn person. They're the same person. Just one is evil and one is good. They were both born out of the same womb and the same person. In the end, you can strap a murderer to a gurney and execute him if you want. But at one time, he was just an innocent, scared child, just like the good person pulling the lever.
It's a very interesting observation. This work is titled Comedy and Tragedy. I based it off...
I was off.
No, not necessarily. I based it off of the old theater mass, Comedy and Tragedy. That was my first initial inspiration. However, what is comedy and tragedy except something that does exist in both of us, in all of us, in one and the same? We both have our comedy side and our tragic sides. And a lot of people who go for comedy are often scared of something, and they want to be happy with their life or make others happy because they know they've already experienced tragedy and they don't want it to happen again.
Not to get incredibly personal with it, but yeah, I do know that is why I take being funny very seriously, and I become incredibly frustrated and depressed when I'm trying to create something funny or entertaining and it doesn't, to me, ever come out right. Recently, we kind of stopped doing our Let's Plays, and one of the big reasons why is because I was feeling very unfulfilled with them. It's a big, major reason. And it was very, very draining on my psyche because I'm not good at a lot in life. I really am not. That's why I have been doing retail and hospitality my entire life.
You have a lot of strengths, though, that you don't always see.
One of the few things I was ever confident in was that I was funny. It was one of the only things I could ever do to make my father happy, was that I could make him laugh. I could make him laugh at the drop of a hat. I could make my brother laugh. I could make my mother laugh, who's very strong, like just cold in a way.
Do you remember what my brother said to you when you made me laugh, and when we were at the old place where I used to live, and we were in the kitchen? And he said, "I've never seen my brother laugh like that, and it was because of you." I was in a very dark place when you came into my life, and I'm no longer there. I got to start my life anew with you. That was a long time ago now.
It's something to think about, that the thing that you admired me for, the thing that you liked about me, that I was funny, that I could make you laugh, It's born completely of trauma. It's born completely of just worthlessness, being absolutely useless and absolutely talentless and absolutely literally born hated. So, like in my particular case.
At
So,
least it's not the only thing that I had gravitated toward you on.
yeah, but
there's a lot of things about you that I love.
it's something that I cling to, though.
I know.
I can sit down and over the course of a week maybe write a song, but I know at the drop of a hat I can make someone laugh. It's the one good thing I've ever been able to do in my life. So feeling like I'm failing at that, it is literally like I have no purpose. I have no meaning. And
I kind of see that very similar to how, what's his face? Played in Tommy Boy.
Chris Farley.
Chris Farley felt toward the end of his life.
Yeah, he was obsessed with being funny because he felt like he was such a worthless person. He was a dirty, overweight drug addict, and he hated himself. He hated everything about himself.
But he was talented.
He couldn't see it
Yeah.
because to him he was just a big, stupid, fat guy. But yeah,
Overall, a very interesting interpretation of this. So you never know how art's going to make you feel and what it makes you think about. And that's going with all styles of art, not just surrealism. I guess you can kind of already tell this one's a little bit more dramatic.
okay, first off, this isn't a human to me. This is a beast of burden that works itself to death. I keep going back to that narrative working.
Okay, before you continue, I will say, everyone, that very few of my artworks have a positive message. And that's not that, like, I'm a dreary person all the time or very negative person. It's just a lot of my artworks have messages in them that you don't always want to approach. So, surrealism will make you approach things in your mind that you do not always realize you want to approach. I do have some beautiful scenes, sure, but not all of them will be like that. Continuing, Miah.
Working yourself until you just burn away. You're a constant engine, but you don't realize that you're working and working and working until you die. I swear I'm not. I have been way worse with my...
Miah is also a positive person, too, when he wants to be. And, like, everybody has their time when they feel, down on things, but...
I have been way worse when it comes to work is a thing.
Yeah.
Like, I have been to the point where, like, I sleep and work, and that's it. And I'm absolutely miserable, and I hate my life. And I'm not at that place right now. I have a decent job where I get a lot of time off, and I get paid really well, decently. Mm-hmm. And I swear I'm not just going back to this narrative of work over and over because I'm seeing it in myself.
Well, it's just whatever the artwork is showing you. I mean,
to me,
you can't help that, hun. That's what your subconscious is seeing.
To me, this seems to be a beast of burden working until it dies and it's burnt away. And we, as human beings, could just as easily be those farm animals and those cows and horses who just work and work until they're dead, until they burn away, and all that's left is our bones in the end.
All right. The name of this art piece is called Pyrophobia. I based it not only on the fear of flames and burning away, but it represents the inner fear of something taking over you and having no control and eventually you have no escape from. The figure in the center is not directly any particular human or animal in general. It's whatever first comes to mind. And that is pretty much the meaning and inspiration when I first started making it. All right, moving on to the next one.
This reminds me of the uncomfortable feeling of being invited over to someone's house and having to entertain them.
Yes.
This reminds me of the feeling of having to sit across from somebody in somebody else's house and having to conversate with them, be it family, be it
being in a situation you just don't want to be in.
just a situation you don't want to be in. And this big blob is the person that you're talking to. I don't want to put a name on it or anything.
Yeah.
It's I don't
whatever
know.
You see. I will say that this artwork does not have any direct meaning. It is all based on interpretation. It is another one of my artworks that I created just starting with whatever came to my mind until it was finished.
You're invited over to somebody's house with the premise of having dinner or getting to know someone, and then you have to sit across, and this has happened to me on many an occasion because I'm an old-fashioned person. I don't just date people. And you've known me for about 12 years now, and you know that I've never been a person who just, me and you are dating now, okay? We're dating now.
Yeah.
I've always been like, it's best that I meet your family. It's best that I come over to your house. It's best that we hang out and all of this and that. I was always like that with all of my relationships. And it's never as simple as you want it to be. It's always this grilling. And I have to sit across from somebody and they're like, so what do you do? Why are you dating my son? How old are you again?
So that's what you see in this. It's a very interesting interpretation. And I'm very fascinated.
The big black blob entity is them staring at me, being very judgmental right now.
The title of this work is Hallucination. Now, that could easily be about, like, when you think of a scene like that, you hallucinate something like this. Something that makes you very uncomfortable. One thing I did very much enjoy with this artwork is working with both pink and black, and I wanted to use a little bit of white too, but I wanted to use a lot of striking black tones against a lighter background to really make it stand out. All right, the next one.
Self-healing. Out of this, I see that we are all frigid blocks of ice. And sometimes you can't get help from others to become a better person or a warmer person. Sometimes you need to self-reflect and warm yourself up and melt away the ice yourself. And underneath all that ice, you'll find your true self, a better person.
That is very interesting that you'd say that. It is pretty much spot on. This piece is called Ice Sculpture. It is pretty much reflecting on the fact that there is a block of ice transforming into a person. He is coming out of that frigid state and coming into his natural form of what he should be.
Again, I have looked into a lot of self-help stuff, and I'm getting actual therapy, but I've looked into a lot of self-help, and yeah, a lot of it you can't rely on everyone to do for you. Sometimes there is a big leap that you have to do for yourself as well.
Something that I've had to do for myself in the past. I'm sure others have as well. And here's the next one.
Pancakes! No.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I
I guess they do look a little like pancakes. Haven't had pancakes in a while.
Now, this is something that I have been definitely studying a lot of. This reminds me of the perils and the envisionment of self-sabotage. Sometimes you're afraid of moving up because all you see, the staircase of moving upward and doing better with your life, you see it as perilous.
Mm-hmm.
You see it as melting and collapsing, and why even bother? There's no way I can make my way up there.
Mm-hmm.
It's self-sabotage. It's what I've discovered recently, and it's something that actually really opened my eyes, as the kids say. It really opened my eyes. Last night's episode of South Park really opened my eyes. So there's this terminology that's been floating around a lot lately in the last 5 or 6 years. And it's called, what's another word for a fraud?
Imposter.
Imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome.
Just always ask the author. I have so many words in my head.
There's this terminology that's been going around for about 5 or 6 years called imposter syndrome. And it's been used a lot by super successful people who are like, I have my own company. I have a lot of people working underneath me. I'm a very successful person, but it turns out I'm suffering from imposter syndrome. There are times when I'm like, I don't deserve any of this. People are going to find out I'm a fraud. People are going to find out I'm a fake. And to me, that was always like, wow, that is the furthest thing from anything I could possibly be, because I am not a successful person. I am not wealthy. I do not have people relying on me, and I have never done or accomplished anything worthwhile in my entire life. If anything, I am a complete failure, a complete utter failure, everything I've ever done. So I know that's not my issue. Turns out imposter syndrome is very much possible for people who are just starting out in life, because it's also known as sabotage syndrome.
Yeah.
You literally feel you are not worthy of success. You are not worthy of friends. You're not worthy of accolade. You're not worthy of anything because you're a loser. You're a loser and you're a failure, so why even try? There are 2 different types of imposter syndrome. There's imposter syndrome once you have made it, and there's imposter syndrome before you even make it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an interpretation of what I experience a lot of, the self-sabotaging imposter syndrome. Why even bother climbing that perilous staircase when I could just stay down here?
Even though you know that your goal is at the top. This artwork is titled Staircase, and that's actually a very accurate interpretation of what you said. And I'm actually pleased in a way that it, not that if it made you feel anything negative, but made you feel exactly what I was trying to make it feel. It may not be too obvious, and it's not supposed to be too obvious right away, but sometimes along the way up, there are things that try to stop us, like the hand railing forming into the head of a snake. There's going to be people or things, obstacles that try to stop you, and sometimes you are afraid of that and don't want to continue.
No step and snick.
Yes. This one definitely has a lot of interpretation with it, depending on the person looking at it. All right. Next one.
Ooh.
Now, this one's going to be a little bit interesting. This one does have a very direct meaning, but I do want to see how it makes you feel first.
This is an imposing figure. He's mysterious. He's got a secret. But he's going to find out your secret first, and then your secret becomes his secret. Yeah.
Actually, that's pretty accurate.
I already saw the title up in the corner.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm sorry, hon.
You're not supposed to look up
I'm not
there.
going to anymore. It was because I leaned back and I saw the title up in the corner.
Don't look up there anymore. Yes, this is called The Mysterious Mr. White. Now, you know about Mr. White.
I do, to an extent. A larger extent than some people.
But yeah, he is a character from the world of my books. Certain books within my writing world. He doesn't appear in all my works, but the ones that he does appear in, Mr. White is a very mysterious entity indeed, especially with how he just appeared in my life in general. He, just like he does in every book, he just appeared out of nowhere to solve a situation. Usually in his way, not in everybody else's way, so he doesn't always consider how everyone else feels. He has a job to do, but he's learning. And then he mysteriously leaves, just as he comes. He's based off a Man in Black, kind of like the Men in Black in general. Now, when you see him in my books, usually he's in my books that take place in the past, but you will notice that there are significant time leaps in those stories. And it might make you wonder, what's he doing in the 60s in one book, and then suddenly it's in the 90s, and he appears to people in the exact same way and looks the same.
Doctor Who. It's Doctor Who, isn't it? He's secretly Doctor Who.
It's part of his mystery. I'm not going to give out everything right now, but just know that he's been around for a very long time. And I wanted to do a surreal artwork of him. Actually, I've done more than one. This is just one of two that I have done, but this will be the only one that are being featured. Next one.
This one's difficult. Maybe clouds growing up, or clouds flowing over and dropping rain upon the ground, and life spurs from the earth. I don't know. This one's more difficult.
Sometimes they can be. You just don't know what you see right away. It's whatever just first comes to mind. It's what I love about surrealism. It really makes the mind stop for a moment, and it kind of forces it to think, forces it to interpret, makes it wonder. What am I looking at?
What is it? Please tell me.
This is called The Veil of Imagination. Now, when I was first creating it, I pictured a type of veil or curtain covering possibly something in the background, but you don't really quite know exactly what could be behind it. It's transforming. It can have different meanings depending on the person. I do like that you thought of clouds and such.
There's clouds up here,
Mm-hmm.
and they drop down and onto the earth, and then these grow out of the earth. And it's just a cycle and keeps going back and forth.
It could very much represent a cycle.
A bicycle.
All right, moving on to the next one. This has been fun. This is one of my more recent ones, actually.
Okay. This is a motivator. This is someone living inside of a dark, cruel, cycling world of clouds and nastiness. And within him dwells bright sun and inspiration that he will spew out upon the world and brighten the world. But it's stuck inside of him for now. This is a figure here. That's him. It's going to come out and it's going to fill the world with bright sun and...
Almost as though where he's at, he's having a hard time doing that. Like things are preventing him from being himself.
There was this saying, or it wasn't a saying, it may have been a tweet. It may have been something somebody said. It was a commentary on the evils of the American school system.
Oh, yeah, I definitely experienced those.
And it was the cure to the world's diseases and viruses may dwell in the mind of a young child who can't afford an education.
Mm-hmm.
Something along those lines. That this good dwells within this person, and it's just waiting to be released into the world and change the world. But it can't. It's stuck for now.
Quite possibly one time in the future he'll have his chance. The name of this artwork is known as Cerebral Vision. It is intended to create and invoke very deep thoughts of reflection, and I believe that that's what I have accomplished with that. I very much like your interpretation. I very much agree with it.
Nice try.
No, I agree with it very much. Moving on to the next one. This is one of my Cubism artworks. Cubism has a way of hiding or concealing hidden scenes or figures or things that you don't always see right away. And sometimes you don't see what the artist sees, and it's whatever you first see in it, and that's completely fine too. I know you've recently seen some of mine. You saw one of mine, Cubism in black and white.
This is how a child carries his parents' hatred for one another with him for the rest of his life.
Ooh.
The figure you see with one eye there, that's the child as an adult. And in his grasp, he holds the entity of the parent spitting his vitriol at the other parent. And he has to carry it with him as a burden for the rest of his life.
Oh, that's very interesting that you see that.
That is not... Actually, it's about...
it's interesting to me.
It's about the importance of a good diet, but...
No.
Okay.
That's not... The name of this artwork is a little bit more personal to a family member in my life. It's called Darlene's Dream. My grandmother's kind of going through a hard time right now. She led a very long and complex life. I believe a very successful life. And she's still going, she's still doing things. But she's currently suffering from dementia and Alzheimer's. She loves the color green, and I wanted to do this particular piece heavily in green tones and shades. In a way, the way you interpreted, she did have to carry a lot of burdens in her life. Very much. A lot that people didn't know about. But that's interesting that how you saw that. This is the next one.
So,
It's alright, whatever first comes to your mind, you are allowed to think, because that's what art does. There's no right or wrong thing.
somebody very tired, working, burning the midnight oil, doing their job, and coming home as the sun rises. There's the little lantern burning the midnight oil.
Yeah.
There's his pizza box or whatever tool or entity he has to use during his work. His sore, broken feet. His exhausted face. Right now, he's taking his journey home as the sun rises. He doesn't know what a day is. He lives at night and sleeps in the day and can only hope he gets enough rest to do it all over again.
I will say that I once had a job like that, and I did not enjoy it.
I feel like I would have enjoyed it, but I would have grown to hate it no matter what. If I was working all night. Because no matter what, everybody's always ringing our damn doorbell and our damn phone and mowing lawns during the day and crap, and there's just no way I could sleep anyway.
I specifically chose that job at night because I didn't want to deal with people, but I ended up not having any time for my personal goals or myself, and I ended up hating the whole experience and just didn't want to be where I was, so I left it. And I'm glad I did. The name of this artwork is called Saharan Artifact. My primary inspiration was African art from the Sahara, which they based a lot on their gods, and I find it very fascinating how you interpret it. Even if it wasn't the primary intention, I see everything that you saw. And that's why I like having another opinion of somebody looking at my art. Next one. I will go on to say, before you start interpreting, now I love all of my artworks. I am proud of all of them, and I'm happy with each one that I created. This is among one of my favorites.
Hope I do okay with this one then.
I will always love all of my artworks, but if I had to pick a few favorites, like maybe one out of a few, this would be one of them. Just because how I thought of it in my mind, it turned out exactly the way I wanted it.
This is about sowing chaos into the world. This is about looking down upon the world and wanting to do bad. Not that I would know anything about that. No, seriously. I wouldn't. This is a gigantic beater. And they're blending up the world, stirring up trouble and stirring up chaos in the world, and the lightning and clouds all stir from their evil intentions.
That's fascinating. It's actually very close, too. This artwork is called Invasion of a Hand Mixer. It is, again, heavily based on the personification of a very common object turning into something much more imposing, possibly evil, or just completely, in a very surreal sense, something that could possibly never happen, but in a situation or in a way that could happen. Like something coming down and causing chaos and just completely making everything out of control. And back when we first started, I had mentioned that I love to give personification to objects to where you would least expect, and this is one of them. So I really liked your interpretation of it very much. Getting near the end.
Jeez.
Yeah, it might be a little bit more difficult, but I will say that this artwork does not have a complete direct meaning. It's another one that I made just let the flow of creativity come out.
Again, it conveys a little bit of exhaustion, I feel. Machinery constantly running, trying to keep the world going, and yet the world is ultimately just fine without it. It's just a flat, sandy landscape, and I don't know. I have a little trouble with this one. This one is a little difficult.
This work is titled Thoughts of the Sublime. Now, the reason it's titled that is because I like your interpretation, first of all. Here we see what Miah depicted as a very tired machine that's wasting away, and yet the world around it is beautiful, and yet it's vast. It goes on and elegantly, and it overlooks one thing that was important directly in the front. So you see the beautiful landscape all around something that possibly made it that way. And you have thoughts of the sublime world around it, but you might, if you're not careful, you might overlook something very important right in front of you. And that was the last one that I was to show you.
So what do you think of my interpretations? Do you think that they reflect a little too much on what I'm going through possibly, or do you feel that it was a decent...
like I said, that's the thing. I think you did get a lot of the meanings that of original inspiration of why I created them, but I'm glad that it does bring out some of your inner thoughts, because that is what art's purpose is. You've mentioned in the past where, how some people will get angry at art. How people first reacted to surrealism when it first came out, like how bizarre it was to the world. It made some people angry. Or remember in the movie Mona Lisa Smile, when Julia Roberts' character was trying to teach the world's smartest women in the country about art, and they think they knew everything.
I think we watched that movie together.
We did, because it's one of my favorites. It's not my absolute favorite movie, but it's among my list of favorites. And people in the 50s did not want so much modern art. And thinking about surreal art and how some people hated it, and you've mentioned that it's actually doing its job. Even if it's getting a negative response, that is art.
Yes. I truly feel that art is something that doesn't exist, and yet it conveys emotion as though it's really there. That's, like, to me, surrealist art, if it's pissing you off, it's doing its job. If it's making you feel anything or think anything, even if it's outrage, even if it's like, God, this person's so untalented, this person's so stupid, it's you're interpreting it.
Yeah.
It's doing its job.
And that's any artwork, and not even just surrealism. Surrealism is bizarre and out there because it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be in your face and make your subconscious come forth.
I know a lot of people would disagree because because there's sort of a really frowned upon culture behind it. But to me, even things like pornography are art. I believe pornography is art.
Yeah, it's making you feel something and making you feel a lot of things.
If it's making you feel outrage, even,
yeah,
it's art. If it's making you... But the thing is, these people don't love each other. They don't care about each other. They're actors. They are actors.
In the original pornography.
And that is art. It's performance. They are literally making you feel, wow, these people are actually doing this. They are actually having this. A pizza guy really came to the door and a hot MILF totally jumped on him. And it's like, no, it's fake. It's acting. But it makes you feel like it. And that's art. That is art.
And that's why that form of art evolved into more realistic interpretations of, amateur styles and stuff. But just like all art, it all evolves because people interpret it their own way. Definitely.
Yeah. Interpretation is a part of art. Like, yeah, you can, as an artist, be like, that's not what it's about. What the hell are you talking about? But still, you kind of have to learn that, like, this is a part of it. This is just a part of your art, and nobody else can do this but you.
Yes.
And that's something that you should be kind of proud of. Like, I love Dragon Force. I grew up in a time where people hated Dragon Force. People, like, if you liked Dragon Force, you might as well have just painted a bullseye on your forehead. And, like, it was despised. Dragon Force was. To even say I like Dragon Force, he likes Dragon Force. It's like nothing you even say matters now, kind of thing. And times have changed. Obviously, they stuck around, and now they actually do have respect because they stuck to their guns and did what they wanted to do. But that's a part of their art. They embraced that. They didn't embrace the cringe or anything like that, but they realized that's a part of it. That is a part of people's interpretation of us. That, yeah, they don't like us, but we have people who do. And that's the interpretation of art.
And music is a form of art.
Yes.
It's a very major, important part of art. In fact, a lot of my artworks, whether it be my surrealist paintings or my writing, a lot of it I wouldn't be able to do without music. Music influences me a lot. I will say that I wasn't sure that I was even going to do this podcast episode. I have this... it's not... what words am I trying to use here? It's not an unhealthy protection, but I have this extreme protection over things that I create. I have not yet uploaded any of my artworks to my account on DeviantArt. I'm a little afraid to. And I know I shouldn't be, because I can give them watermarks, but you can ask my mom this too, and she'll actually tell you. I've been like this ever since I was little. And everything that I create, I have this huge need to protect it. And my artworks have been very important to me these last few months. So much so that I literally do want them to outlast me. I want them to be around and make people feel these things even when I'm not around anymore. After I'm gone, I want them to be appreciated. And that's also my books too. And it's why I want to, keep so many copies of them and eventually make hard copies of all of them and, have them printed out. And I just have this need to protect everything I create so it's not lost. I think you kind of feel that way about your music. Like, it's very important to you. But I've never really asked you that. Like,
I'm I kind of feel like there's this sort of shame behind wanting things to last longer than you. I grew up in a Catholic house, and very laxed Catholic, which basically means we only observe the things that can destroy you, basically.
Oh.
So that basically means don't be proud, don't think you're better than anybody, don't tell anybody your religion, don't flaunt yourself in front of anybody because you're no good. You're born evil, you'll die evil.
Mm-hmm.
There's this sort of hidden shame inside of me to think that, like, I want my music to last longer than I do, and I want to be able to die and people still, and for me to still live on. It seems selfish, and the truth is that's what a lot of people feel. A lot of people feel like, yeah, this is going to be around long after I'm gone. Isn't that great? And that's a personal thing with me. That it's not right. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's the way you're supposed to think. And I do know that it's fucked up that I feel that way about things. And I would like to be prouder. That's the big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I have pointed it out to you before that, like, I am always very impressed with how proud you can be of yourself. You yourself. Not egotistical. Not.
Yeah, this is what anything I said was nothing egotistical.
But I've always been very impressed and very jealous of how proud you can be of yourself. That when you make something good, you can actually say, that's really good. I'm very proud of that. I can't do that. I cannot do that. And to a lot of people, oh yeah, me either. I hate myself so much. I'm total trash. No, I'm not saying it to be cute and quirky, because it's fucking misery. It is miserable, because you can never do good enough, ever, when you feel the way that I have felt my entire life. What has been instilled upon me, that my music will never be good enough. My art will never be good enough. And I'd like to change that. But And
I would love to help you in any way that I can.
I know.
Because I do like your music. I always have. And
in
anything
fact,
else you
at
create.
3 o'clock? Yeah, 3 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
No, in 1 hour. It's 2 o'clock right now. It's 2 a.m., everybody, while we're recording this. At 3 a.m., my new song will be out. Yay, it'll be available everywhere.
Right. That's right, it is coming out.
Yeah, it'll be available everywhere, all over the world.
I'll be promoting it tomorrow.
And, yeah, I hope everybody listens to it. And I have to kind of use it as a bit of therapy as well, because I have to learn to be okay with releasing music and not everybody listening to it, and don't hate myself and don't think I'm a failure and then sit on my music again for another 8 months before I release anything.
I haven't I don't want this to sound like I'm trying to sabotage myself or anything. I haven't sold a book in like 3 months or longer. And that I have to understand that is just a slow spot. Number one, I haven't really been writing the last several months. And also, people have been dealing with a lot of stuff in their life right now. I get very pleased when I sell one of my books and my publisher lets me know. And it's possible I could have sold one right now, and I just haven't been told yet. I don't know if people are going to like my artworks after I'm gone or even while I'm alive. I know some people who have. I've gotten praise from you and my mom and maybe one or two other people, and I'm very glad for that. I don't know if other people will or not. They don't have to. I would love that, but I have to remember why I started creating all of my art to begin with, because it was like a certain type of therapy for myself. It made me feel much better. It's interpreting so many things that are in my mind, from my imagination, or just personal thoughts, or my dreams, or thoughts of the world in general, in artistic form. And my art, essentially, I was creating it for myself, and I'm pleased if other people like it. But it was all of this I've been mostly doing because I just want to. And I think every artist should remember that yes, it's nice to have praise from other people, but to create because you love doing it. It's also what Stephen King has always said, that in terms of writing, for an author, you need to write because you love it. Never lose sight of why you love to write and create stories and characters. Otherwise, it becomes a chore. I know that you had commented on one of my arts, and I put it in the rotation here. I know it wasn't in when we were interpreting, but you told me that you liked my artwork here, known as Lovers, and I was really pleased with that.
Because they are two men, and they love each other. And I am a gay man, and I love another man. And I don't see that in art enough. And if I do, it has to be this cordoned off part of the world where it's like LGBTQ art. And like,
Yeah.
it gets old. It gets old after a while that art interpreting same-sex love is always cordoned off from the rest of art. And it's something I don't comment on because, and I think it's something that a lot of gay people and LGBTQ people have come to just accept begrudgingly. It's better than nothing. It's better than nothing that at least we're acknowledged. We're not having our art fucking thrown in fire pits, and we're not, being arrested and all of that. So this is the best we can do. But I would love to be going through surrealist art and art in general, just like yours, where I go through on your albums, just browsing and looking at things, and then out of nowhere that shows up. And it makes me for a brief moment feel like, I'm normal. I'm a normal person. Which we all are.
Yes.
But
I'm glad that it made you feel that way first.
But I wasn't born feeling normal. And normality is something that we adapt to. It's not something that very many of us just are born into. And especially when it comes to ourselves and it comes to representation. Like, I love that Disney and Nickelodeon and all these shows just randomly throw in same-sex couples or mixed-race couples or a black president or an Asian butcher or whatever, because it's at the very least letting kids grow up and they'll never know the difference. They'll just be like, the mayor was black in that movie? He was? And then they check out the old Nickelodeon. He was. I never even noticed.
Yep.
And it isn't like that for us. When we see a gay couple in a movie, it juts out to us because that's us. Look, that represents us. Gay kids in the future will be able to say, yeah, the two moms on that show, they were played by so-and-so and so-and-so. And it's like, it doesn't matter.
I can only hope that it will be, just very commonplace in the future, because when we were younger, it certainly was not.
Nope.
It was a joke.
It was, if it was taken seriously, it was a controversy.
Yes. That's why I titled this as just simply Lovers. It does not have to be gay lovers. It doesn't have to be two men. It is simply lovers, because that is what they are. Normality is just an ideal. It is nothing more than an interpretation of what people want life to be. Life is not normal. people want to be normal, but no one's really normal. Life is weird. Life is different all the time. It's exciting, and it's everything all into one. It's never going to just be, one simple thing. It's never going to be black and white. Black and white is the support of all other colors of life. It's exactly what it is. It's the building blocks. It doesn't have to be the color of life itself. I know that this episode's probably going on a little bit long. I was going to actually see if you wanted to interpret a few of Dolly's paintings, but I will be featuring some of his work, the one I talked about earlier in the episode, so you can always see it when you watch back the episode, which I know you always do. But I hope you enjoyed looking at some of the work that you haven't seen of mine.
I did, baby. And I have seen pretty much all of your work. I don't want you to think that just because I don't comment on everything, I haven't seen it. That's something else we got to get used to.
Yeah.
Not everybody who is a fan of us or watches our stuff or likes our stuff comments on it. We're not living in that world anymore. Back in the MySpace days, yes, we did. But we now live in a world where we don't even answer our phones. So, because we just can't stand talking to people anymore. So, that's just the way things are.
One day, I would love to go to the Dolly Museum in Florida with you. That is something I'd like to experience.
I heard he has a theme park too. Dollywood.
That would be amazing. Like, if he had a theme park, it would be so surreal looking. Why hasn't anyone made that?
They make it like Dr. Seuss World. They just make it all weird and blobby looking.
Well, a lot of his paintings also had hidden sexual meanings too, so they'd have to be careful.
Oh no. Here we go. Oh no.
He was very famously bisexual.
Nasties. That's my mom.
Yeah. She always says that.
I don't think they need the kissy faces.
Yeah, even though Salvador Dali did actually marry, he did have a wife, he preferred sex with men. He was very much into voyeurism. That was his thing. He loved to watch.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. He's a very fascinating person. And good knows I've talked about him a lot lately because he's heavily inspired me, but I love his work and his vision. I will go on to make more artwork. Who knows, maybe I'll feature more of it on another future episode, or maybe I will eventually upload it and start selling copies of my work and stuff so other people can enjoy it in their home. Who knows? I haven't 100% decided on how I'm going to go about doing all that, but eventually, once I make hard copies of it all, and we'll see what the future holds. But that, I guess, will be today's episode. I don't know when I'm going to make the next one, whenever it will be. This is the very occasional podcast known as Dominocast. It's whenever I want it to be.
Thank you for having me on.
You are always here. You're like the co-host now. All right, until next time. Bye for now.
Together.